and welcome to the LEC playoffs. Fnatic versus GX, soon to be on your screens. It is hot out here, white hot. And I'm very excited to be here as Initialise, casting alongside my brother Nymaera. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well, and so much better to be seeing these teams face off in our lower bracket. Since Madrid, GX have been on a hot streak. Fnatic took a bit of a stumble despite coming in as one of our upper seeds into playoffs. They lost against their old rivals in G2 and now against GX, a team which they have a much better rivalry record against, rather. They'll look to stabilize.
Of course, on the other side, for GX, that upward trajectory could take them to places I think people at the beginning of the split had kind of written them off from ever reaching. Noah and John as well going up against their former team, and the new bot lane, of course, in upset Mikyx, now MVPs as well, so it's all spice and narratives down there.
You're learning the tricks of the trade well, Sam. I think in this first 2 minutes we've got out all the things like dynasties and narratives which we would like to be talking about. Of course, the desk covered an awful lot of that.
I avoided the legacy so far, like that's a little bit later in the
should have
series,
saved that one for later.
No kings either.
Waiting to see what comes up in the Champions League, players getting settled on to stage. But yes, obviously very excited today. And of course, before we got into our cast, saw that a lot of people here in the studio, a lot of people here for their first time at the LEC. So I very much hope you here in Berlin joining us for the festivities. Enjoy yourself as well as we will get ourselves into that Champion Select.
Fnatic, understandably, over on blue side does seem to be the side of choice, and so we're already seeing a few bans come on through. That Jax away from Lot, no surprise, alongside the Yone. On the other side, the Vi, the Azir. First bans up for GX.
Of course, on 25-10 were some changes to some API itemization. We have some questions about champions like Senna 2. Here in Europe, though, we still love the Maokai. Currently not banned. Most LEC teams do love that. I suppose these two teams maybe a little less than some others, but that ban would be interesting. Of course, Rumble unbanned currently too.
Yeah, it means the Gwen is also potentially going to be up and available. Yep. So a lot of those high value AP top laners up and available. Interesting is the Warwick ban. BB has been infecting. He said GB, but I don't think he was the original Warwick.
No. And of course, Oscar did play a game of it too. He was the only other player to play towards that. So, it's a bit of a gambit being played. The Rumble available. Stuff like that. Shinzao, Pantheon, Taliyah. All of these power picks up and available. The choice of blind pick is very, very telling. They do go towards that Taliyah, good nullifier in the mid lane. And of course, now it goes over towards Isma and say, well, do you want to play something like that, Pantheon? And trying to separate out those two global champions from that mid jungle, which tend to be so powerful together.
Of course, something like Taliyah does empower people like Razork and Mikyx who do like to play with a little bit of pace and look for those aggressive picks.
There we go.
That option to follow up does feel good. And there's that Senna that we've all been hearing a lot about. They'll lock in the Pantheon as well. Could, I suppose, put that down bot side now. You've got Senna if you so wished, even if it does feel like it's a farming
Okay. Now, I know that Senna Pantheon was a thing in the past at some points, less so nowadays. So they do what we asked of them. They separate out the Taliyah and the Pantheon, because when they go together somewhere and they just crash onto one part of the map, it's horrible. You don't really want to be stood there. And of course, the Senna with the global to add into the play too empowers that even more, of course, for the Pantheon. Even if you're not there with the Taliyah on the other side, you've separated them.
Looks like the choice of either the Gwen or the Rumble will be Gwen for the side of Fnatic. Certainly something we've seen a lot from Oscarinin. It'll be his most played champion by a fairly significant margin here so far in playoffs. Skarner also locked in to pair up with that Taliyah.
Skarner, a champion which has gone up and down a little bit still. Pretty good as just being that frontline initiator as that is being hovered. I mean, I'd love to see it. There's a laugh on the other side. I do check mid laners, of course.
Just say we have seen a little bit of Zed junglers.
Sam, would you? So where does the Pantheon go at that point?
Obviously,
wonderful.
You know, this is how I feed my dreams out.
It's been hovered a little bit more. It's been hovered a little bit more as the Ahri instead. We had seen a tiny bit of Zed mid being played into that Taliyah, so you have to think about it. Pantheon Ahri though, point and click from the Pantheon. Charm afterwards. Ahri's doing quite well on the new patch with stuff like the Malignance and other items being buffed that she does like to build. GX have a very proactive comp right now. Pantheon, Ahri go onto one target, the Senna ults over the top. Fnatic, I suppose with the Taliyah, can play some more aggressive things with the Weaver's Wall as well, but they need to be very aware that GX can pull the trigger quite fast, quite effectively.
Keep our eyes on it. The scaling, the team fighting, all very good from Fnatic, but as you noted, just a lot of response in terms of that ability to collapse from miles away. Very difficult to manage for the side of GX there with the Pantheon Senna, as we've been kind of nattering about. It does seem like those bans now going towards primarily the bot lane, considering they're the two that have been left up and unpicked so far.
I wonder where something like Kai'Sa comes into play. It's the most played of both of these AD carries, and when you've got quite fast picks on the side of one table, the Kaiser is good at defending against that, because you can, you know, ult out of harm's way. Or Noah, who's played 4 games on the champion, could also join in on that play. Oh, no, hang on. So, yeah, okay, so he won't go towards that. But there's upset on the other side, potentially looking at that as to help deflect some of those faster plays.
Yeah, and it's of course worth noting these days the Senna is generally a farming Senna as well, so you don't see as many weird support picks to go alongside it because they're not getting the same amount of resources as Senna lanes in the past used to get. And there's our final ban on that site.
So the question is, what are you going to do into that Gwen, hovering over some fun champions on the other side? Now, typically when you see the Gwen, you do like to pick something like the Jax into it. That was banned very early on, a lot very successful in that champion. Hovering over that Vladimir quite a lot, and now most of the time it's not even just hovered.
Oh yes!
Blood for the Blood God, and apparently for the top laner as well, locks Vladimir, and immediate Kalista Renata on the other side. Fnatic wasted no time in that.
Well, they're going to be playing aggressively through that bot lane, have no doubts about it, even if GX pulled out some spicy options for the top lane. Vladimir sometimes doesn't want to run the TP and stuff as well, so can kind of cheat that by having things like the Pantheon on the board now as well.
This raises some problems for GX though. You probably wanted to leave your bot lane alone a little bit, and the Senna Alistar is fine if you reach one item and you can let the cow go a roaming. You can't do that against a Kalista Renata easily, and you can't do that if the Ahri and the Pantheon are trying to go towards the Vladimir's lane. One of these sides of the equation, either the Vladimir or the Senna Alistar, must be self-sufficient. Otherwise, Fnatic will start to find some gaps in the armor, and particularly Upset on the Kalista has been a wrecking ball. This is danger for GX. Upset Mikyx, they could just crash through the spot half the map.
They really could, and I want to call out the desk as well, because they said some good things on this front as well, saying, look, couple options to beat Fnatic as GX. Smash Oscarinin, or set up that bot lane for success. And it feels like there's a little bit of a catch-22. You can do one or the other here, and it might not be easy to get both happening at once.
So, Fnatic looking to stabilize after dropping down to the lower bracket. GX, we haven't seen them play in a little while, but last time we saw them, they were on a bit of a hot streak. Madrid ignited something in GIANTX in front of a very cool crowd out there in Madrid, and Fnatic, of course, were there with them too, against different teams, now here against each other in class elimination on the line.
Exciting stuff there. The crowd, they look very happy to be here, and I can't blame them. Fnatic looking to right the wrongs and make another one of those lower bracket runs. GX, story, the recovery since Madrid has been pretty meteoric. They take it that one step further.
Well, the fans are joining us in the energy here as well. Let's load onto the Rifts and get ourselves into proceedings. Fnatic coming in with something to prove. GX wanting to stop them in their tracks.
There's the Rift, a little bit of a cinematic overview. We log ourselves in, a match of the weekend, immediately a pause! I feel like that might have been a caster curse, I can only apologise.
Yeah, we're ready to get into the energy. Well, where do be the energy? We got it, we'll delay it for just a minute.
Folks, simmer, let it boil up. You can't, you know, overdo it too early. You got to hold on a little bit before you can completely let go. Still waiting to find out what's going on, but it looks like we're already conducting ready checks, so we should be back into game relatively shortly here. Just a brief pause in the action.
Yeah. I didn't get the chance to see what runes and summoners Vladimir was running, because that'll really inform a lot of the conversation we have around the early game. Now, we've seen little bits of that Vladimir, and of course, I'm sure that's probably what a lot of people are interested in, saying, why the heck is this champion being played? Why is it playing here? We saw a game of it, I want to say, from Flandre over an LPL. I don't think we've seen that much else of it. And it was into the Gwen, where you just try and play that range, and Gwen has limited ways to really jump onto you. Did end up losing that game, but I remember he smashed the individual matchup really, really hard. Be interested to see whether Lot can do that versus Oscar. I think Lot started the split quite poorly, but I think he's improved quite a lot. I think that could be said the same for a lot of GX players, as we are getting back into play. So we'll be back on to schedule shortly after this point, and we'll continue talking about Vladimir a little bit, because it's interesting.
I'm already going to look up some stats and see exactly how much he's been played. We'll see.
Wonderful.
We'll find out for you as we go. But there we go. A little bit of a bonus hit from producers as well. Senna ADC, it could be some fun stuff there.
Absolutely. We will have a chat about that, because both sides of the match, very, very fun. Lot going towards the Ahri, not going towards the Ignite, not for the Flash TP. It does mean it'll be a little bit safer in those team fights. Maybe a little less ability to dominate the lane with the stuff like the Ignite and the Flash, not the Flash, the Ignite and the Ghost, which we sometimes see from it.
Indeed. So, we'll keep our eyes on it. as this bot lane in particular, this top lane in particular, very interesting for both sides of the map in different reasons. There's those runes you're asking for. It is that Ahri, as you may have noted. And looking to get some value and get some scaling going on is the Vladimir.
Gone for the Nimbus Cloaks. We did see some Axiom Arcanist on the champion because it improves the healing which you get from it, which is really, really nice in some clutch scenarios, and of course that damage too. Focus onto this top lane then. Of course, there's so many important things to talk about, but this top lane was one of the things which the desk had highlighted, putting a ward down early, making sure that Oscar has to back off from that front bush, and this top lane matchup will definitely be one which we'll want to look at very, very closely.
Keep our eyes on it, of course. These guys in topside have been very, very strong over the course of the split. In some ways, even if I feel like Oscar had a rough showing against G2, didn't have the easiest time. We're looking to redeem himself here in a lot. Fantastic Jax games, but still struggling to find some of those additional carries to really take over games.
Of course, we haven't seen that much of LOT since his hot streak began with the rest of GX. We were, been saying a lot about Madrid and post-Madrid, but haven't had that many series to showcase it. Of course, against Fnatic, tough opposition. Offers up that W level 2, denies some damage there. Man, remember that time when Vladimir was briefly played before Worlds where people are maxing W, where you could just kind of wave clear through an entire stacked wave by maxing that out? It was really, really nasty for a while. It's the last time I actually remember seeing this champion a lot. You see that Oscar trying to stack up the Q on the wave like Gwen does in many matchups, and then kind of jump forwards with the hard trade. Vladimir's W cooldown obviously very long. So if you can buy it on one wave, then the next trade you take is much more free. LOT doesn't have the same wave clear, especially not with the Emax just yet, as well as we do get a look at some of their stats there too. LOT done pretty well. This is since week 5, this is since Madrid, as we've been talking. Turns out that's quite an important timestamp for both of these, and you can see why there's a lot invested into this matchup and these players on your screen.
Very much so. And again, it's been a bit of an interesting one, hasn't it? Because I think for Oscarinin, he had a tough showing, as we kind of noted. And it's on one of his more popular champions here, though, is the Gwen. So he can look to kind of make sure that he is up and running here in general. Of course, it's not going to be the only place we need to keep our eyes on, because bot side nearly guaranteed will be spicy at some point here, because that's a Kalista and Renata for Upset and Mikyx. And they are some scary, scary members.
Once again, go back towards that top lane matchup, looking at what junglers are doing. Currently, Razork going in towards the enemy jungle, has a little bit of vision with him. Of course, with the Vladimir excitement, we've missed out a little bit on the early lanes elsewhere. See that Upset and Mikyx, they pushed in that bot side. Humanoid doing quite well in the mid lane matchup there too. Haven't seen that explosive play just happening just yet. Both junglers have ways to interact with that early game. Of course, Isma could potentially go towards flash gank. Currently off vision right now. Stops to put a vision towards that bot side jungle entrance. And no one's really decided where they want the first big play to be made just yet.
Relatively quiet for now. That is no bad thing necessarily for GX, I would argue. I think for Fnatic, when you're running a Kalista Renata, you often do want to make things happen a little early on, even if, of course, got.
Yeah, I have to say, if we don't have to focus the camera down, if you don't have to focus the camera down on bot side, typically that's a good thing for the other team. I'd much rather focus on the players on screen because they're pretty interesting, aren't they? So, got a bit of pause. We'll get you more information on that when we see that as well. Hopefully that everything is going to be okay on stage in terms of audio issues, tech issues, and game yada yada. Go through all the checklists. As, not too much to speak of from the early game.
No, not really. I mean, we had a bit of a natter about the topside matchup, obviously. I
feel like we've done that enough.
We've done that enough, exactly. So instead, I'd rather turn our eyes instead perhaps towards that bot lane. Because obviously you've got the Kalista Renata that's just pushing as it stands right now, but how do you feel that one's going to go over the next few months? You kind of said, look, until first item, the Senna and the Alistar could have a bit of a rough time.
Yeah, you typically tend to get wave control at level 2, level 3 as the Kalista, as the kill pressure mounts with it. You just don't want to stand there. One handshake can completely destroy an Alistar, who often doesn't have a way out of a play at that point. You can't headbutt backwards. There was a point where they were trialing, I think, like a free cast W.
Really?
Yeah, there was
a
point.
That sounds horrifying.
I'm not sure it ever left the dark realms of PBE, but for understandable reasons. But of course, in the player matchup too, it means an awful lot. The fact that Noah and Jun haven't given up too much early on, no summoners blown, no random deaths and stuff like that. That is actually an important thing versus the Kalista Renata.
Quick update as well. It does look like it's been an audio issue on stage, so that's being investigated. Hopefully that all gets resolved soon, but it does leave us a moment to just continue chatting about the game and where it's going, I suppose. Fnatic, in general, have had some interesting playoff experience over the last couple splits? Because obviously they came in to playoffs in winter and you're like, oh my days, this team looks incredible, and then went down to lower bracket, had that rough series against BDS, and then had to crawl their way up the lower bracket and did a good job of that. But there has been those moments where they've come into playoffs with such hype and then kind of stumbled a little bit and had to recover across playoffs and still yet to really get that trophy. And well, I mean, ever since 2018, right?
Yeah, a team which has captured the hearts and minds in regular seasons fairly effectively. This team's been really, really good. And I was really excited for them once again heading in towards playoffs. Getting back in towards the game again now, it has been unpaused, and we'll get that back onto your screens ASAP. But yeah, Fnatic, once again, having to readjust. Now, they buffed up the coaching team to help them with that. The Duffman effect we talked about once or twice, as the crowd is happy we're into it as well.
Bit of an engage down bot side, though, as in they go. Noah now in danger, trying to back away. I'm sure they're safe on the top side. Looking for the 1v1. Lord gets in! Transfusion! And Oscarinin is exsanguinated.
But Gwen bled out by the Vladimir for the first blood of the game as bot lane survives. We're saying, hey, Noah Jun doing a good job of not giving up too much in that bot side. They do, of course, have to hang on a second. Jun tried to stop a recall, might get caught now.
He's in danger, flashes for a head, but knocks him onto turret. Mikyx in danger, stuck down, but he's dead as well. The bailout, it's just too late. No money in the world will save Renata.
Supports go down, however, Upset gets the kill, so it does end up being a 1-for-1, but it favors Fnatic, especially since Noah is the one to lose out. GX decide to now remove themselves from the matchup, which is going wrong, and they move the Senna towards topside. Do wonder whether this will work against them at some point. Yes, Lot got himself the first kill in this matchup, and now he's going to have to farm up on the other side of the map and prove that he can still get resources and farm, whilst being against the Kalista, who's also going to be scary on the other side. Ult pulled in mid lane.
To look for that ult as Jackies needs to back away, should be safe for now. Senna so far in the LEC looking pretty hot, 3-0 undefeated, huge KDA as well, so looks like the changes have been pretty good so far for that champion.
Of course, Senna escaping that 2v2 on the bot side early on, particularly once you get towards that shiv, you just wave clear on your own. It's a little bit different to how, and we'll talk about it when it comes through into the next 5 minutes, we're just kind of setting up so you can watch it as it happens. As soon as Noah gets the shiv, he's going to be sat in mid lane probably, tapping the wave with the shiv, hitting it with the Q. We might, hang on a second, is Razork going to go towards this? There's no summoners actually on Origin. Okay, nothing coming up so far, but I guess Upset walking up the lane. Have to pay attention to this.
So, Razork looking for a potential dive angle here. Noah, to get a little chunked out, needs to be wary of the potential dive. Skarner with the boulder in claw. So he hand, of course, as the insect creature. Now looking to potentially dive one in. Last embrace is good. Noah, though, eats loads of damage. The piercing darkness is solid, but a handshake comes on through. And it is very firm indeed. Upset, putting a lot of spears into Jun, who will get rendered. Isma, and I'm not sure he wants to be there, and will swiftly decide that that Grand Starfall can maybe go back up to the heavens.
Okay, this is a problem now. For a while, it looked like the bot lane was going fine, and now Upset suddenly has 3 kills. Reminds me a little bit what happened versus G2, and what's happened in most of the games for Upset on the Kalista this split. Very, very impactful for this champion. Jackie's taking a hard trade there against Humanoid. Of course, they're the best friends against each other. Taking a lot of HP out of him. But Upset getting this far ahead, I don't know whether GX have the tools to deal with this. They just blew the ultimate from Pantheon 2, the first one of the game. How do you answer this Kalista? Who is going to farm against him? I don't think GX have anyone... Hang on a second, that's the Hemoplate pops in the bot side.
Look for some more damage. The needle's coming on down, but that Hemoplate's going to be scary. Flashes on out. Snip briefly, but Lot does burn that additional summoner.
So Oscar trying to wave clear a little bit with the needlework. Lot flashing just to deny some damage. The problem is, if he's around this HP, Oscar doesn't have the kill threat, and Lot can still keep healing off the wave and keep whittling him down. Humanoid might go for a plant in mid lane, try and force the ult out of Jackie's.
Does get that Weaver's Wall across, and Jackie's will be forced to ult. Lot will burn that Sanguine Pool for a second. But Isma is here, but it's just a double impale! And Oscarinin picks up the Vladimir. Needs to back away here, but it's Isma looking for a Q, flashes on forwards, and tries to get the shield fault that just doesn't end up being enough. Another kill over to Fnatic.
Oh, what looked so good for Lot in the early lane has now been pushed against him. Oscar skips out of that last Q from the Pantheon, which would have killed him, and now GX find themselves at a significant goal disadvantage. As we go into this replay, we'll look at how he gets caught out here. Razork has been very, very threatening, forced out that full long cooldown. Obviously, you're not going to get that again, and Lot doesn't have that flash as he used it to survive the needlework earlier. He goes down, and then Isma just a second too late. Can't stun someone up. This is the key play here. Flashes forward. Q goes wide as the E was buffered through that stun. Oscar makes it out alive.
take a brief breath, as it has been pretty all action for the last 5 minutes or so. Started slow, and then suddenly it really wasn't again. Fnatic starting up the grubs here, probably a GX specialty. They've been an early objectives-focused team, but Razork with the early lane priority and deaths going in their favor, be able to pick up this objective pretty easily.
It's so nice when you have the lanes to play around like that. That Kalista Renata just exploding the map makes it so much easier to play the game. Now this is going to be very, very difficult for GX. GX are typically a very objective-focused team. They are now down the grubs. They're down a lot of ability to fight for those early objectives. GX have said if they can survive through the early lanes, if they can get towards one item, we'll have another chat about it. But being down, 2,000 gold before the 10-minute mark, that's definitely something which is going to be harder to do.
Lot now being attacked here. I believe we'll have the Sanguine Pulse slowed down by the Smite. Mikyx throws out a loyalty program, and the handshake is swiftly dodged away. Lot not interested. Gets one out of there.
3 grubs hitting the tower on the other side. Yes, the center is hitting the turret, has no grubs. An upset will get more value out of that and keep clawing ahead in terms of the gold lead. GX need to find an answer at some point. It's just so hard to do it against Fnatic, which are moving this way across the map, continually forcing GX to say, yo, what you doing about the Kalista? And the answer has been very, very quiet so far from GX.
Not really found a lot of proactive moves right now, and 2,000 gold lead is pretty damn significant. There's the Heartsteel just completed for the side of Razork. First items in general will be getting completed, I'd imagine, over the next few minutes or so. Dragon's up, no one's taken as yet. Mikyx, though, did just get rooted up by that last embrace and is forced to flash over the wall as Isma's shield bolts onto him. They're swift enough on the trigger pull to get out to safety.
Flash reward, heck yeah, I'll take that trade. Vision control, baby. Dragon is alive, and GX around the bot side of the map, ready to fight for them.
Would you have flashed for the ward?
Absolutely, I would have done. You know me, a team player. Jonah also wanted controlling business, nice for him. Do have Isma with his ultimate up again if an opening is shown. With Mikyx having flash down, is an opening, but of course he's playing with the Kalista. Makes it much harder to force that issue. GX pushing in this bot side. Lot does have that teleport, of course, on this Vladimir rune set, so he can join the fight in bot side if he so wishes.
Doesn't look like anyone's really willing to pull the trigger at the moment. There's a bit of fighting over the vision, as we've already seen. Mikyx lost his flash for it even. That's commitment to the cause. All the while, though, Dragon still up. Oscar snaps on forward, throws down some needles, and looking to jump onto Lot, who's eating a lot of that damage. Humanoid now comes back on through, but there's a grand starfall! Comes out of the pool a little early, and it ends up being a 1-for-1.
The fact that's a 1-for-1 where you buy the ultimate from Isma is still a win, though. Razork on the other side can still cross-map, knowing that Isma can't get there.
Be a big deal indeed. The Impale does go very wide, though. Nothing on those barbecue skills. In comes the Dawning Shadow, though, and Jack is looking to outplay. Mikyx will go into the bailout, but I don't know how much time it's really going to buy. Gets the charm after onto Upset. Mikyx dead, and Upset down his flash and his cleanse.
So both sides of the cross map don't really work out in the way that the teams initiating them would have wanted. Lot on Isma, lose a kill on top side, thought they'd be safe in the 2v1 on the other side. Fnatic end up losing a kill in a dive which they initiated, despite the fact that they had that Kalista ultimate, trying to buy time for the bailout by using it. Not able to get that much. Humanoid might have overstayed here.
They have. Isma now looking to find this Taliyah. You can surf all you want on all those rocks. It's going to get a little dicey. Jumps across the unraveled earth, though, and Razork being around makes it a much more interesting affair. Driven into the wall, and Humanoid was never as alone as he appeared.
Isma has just been a little too late to most of the players in the early game, and Razork has been gifted a lot more time to work with by his team. That time we're saying, okay, well, Humanoid maybe overstep. Well, Isma couldn't make the play quick enough to stop Razork getting there in time on the other side of the equation. So 13 minutes in, Razork very far ahead in terms of kill participation, getting a bunch of Heartsteel stacks as well in the early game too. Stealing a blue buff away from the side of GX. Dragon's still up and available. No one's really found out time to go towards it until this point. Alistar will secure this one. Fnatic will have 3 grubs, most amount of kills in the early game, and themselves the first Dragon from that. Objective superiority for Fnatic so far.
Big lead in that bot lane now. Upset and Mikyx. A fantastic position to really take over from this point. The gold lead is there, the early objectives are there. Fnatic has to snowball with this comp and doing just that.
Jackie's trying to wave throw. Knows he's on the weak side of the map. Can't really do that much about it. Isma is stealing some camps away from the other side of the map, but once again, much like we saw a little earlier, 3 grubs to Fnatic. Help them do this cross-map a lot easier. Yes, there is a Vladimir free farming on the top side, and Isma potentially looking to go for a 2v1 again if the right situation comes through, but the extra part of this, Fnatic very happy to, as we see in the bottom part of the screen, get turret plates from those 3 grubs like that.
A lot of value there. Lot will burn the Hemoplague top side. They're looking at Oscarinin. Has got some support around him as Isma also around, looking to shield ball in. Goes popped, and he comes to shield ball and flash! And a death onto the Gwen with a little assistance from that Dawning Shadow.
Okay, they get what the game for that time. Yes, the Senna ult comes in and helps with it. Senna now at that shiv point where she can start wave clearing and interacting with the map with that ultimate. Maybe GX can use that next time the cooldown's up to similar effect. GX gets something for free for once.
It does feel like every time one of those lanes gets attacked, the other is being cross-mapped on, which makes some sense, but we kind of saw it from the draft. Vladimir versus Gwen on one side, Senna versus Kalista on the other. Those are some pretty volatile matchups that people want to be influencing.
I've got to say, at least Noah didn't get complete. It wasn't all him that lost the laning phase against the Kalista. I think it's the 2v2, they actually did pretty okay. It's when Razork came to play, things got a little bit worse after that point. GX now have to deal with the consequences of that Kalista getting ahead. Regardless, though, Herald started up. Fnatic once again moving the Kalista to the objective, helping them take it so much more easily.
When stacks do help, turns it into that weighted coin flip and swiftly secured. That is the objective mark towards feet of strength, and now Fnatic have those upgraded shoes they can put on, heading over towards Gucci to make sure their new boots fit on properly.
Noah using that shift away from the in mid lane, as you were saying before. It's not something which the old Senna would do. Old Senna would be walking around with the jungler trying to pick up souls from the jungle camps and stuff. This one can sit around and wave clear a little bit more. Noah needs to be safe. He needs to be safe. If he dies in the mid lane too much, it really becomes unplayable. So he needs to make sure that he's wave clearing well, impacting the map. His ultimate, of course, very long. Used that one to kill Oscar just before. Have to track his progress.
Razork looking mid lane. Noah will make himself untargetable briefly by covering himself into black mist and gets on out of there. Ships in the night or something like that.
Noah has the Swifties too, which makes it much easier to run back. Always been a good pickup on the Senna. Helps you, again, stay safe. It's the biggest thing you can do right now. GX are kind of happy as long as they're not dying, and they haven't died in a little bit. Fnatic on the other side, typically this is the point in the game where they absolutely explode. It's one of the things which they've been praised a lot for. When they do have a foothold in their game, the mid-game is one of the best parts of this current roster. Need to see how they can translate powerful Kalista, powerful Skarner activity in this early game into something a little more than that in the next few minutes.
So, turrets autoed. That'll be an extra one picked up there for Fnatic. First turret of the game falling down. That extends the gold lead back up to about 1.8k. Was kind of being stabilized for a second there by GX, but it has completely changed from this mark over the last 2-3 minutes.
Ah yes, both mid laners in a side lane. For those of you who tuned into the interview before the game came through, both mid laners have found a bit of an identity playing towards this. He charms him up on the wall.
Dragged straight back out, wipe out. And Taliyah can surf all she wants. Unfortunately, she's tumbling off that board.
We literally had an interview before the game where Human was like, oh, I built my identity out of getting, ganked in side lanes. Well, there you go. Jackie is giving him back his rightful throne as Humanoid dies in the side lane. Jack will be happy to pick that one up. Isma has a good use of that ultimate to get once again involved in one of the plays.
Does, however, give Oscar free reign to attack the turret on the other side of the map, so should be able to pick that one up. Jackie's will do his best to get shove on that bot side, but I think a lot of damage has been done to the tier 1, so I don't know how easy it'll be to take down here on the way, but with this Pantheon around, you could still keep look to push it further.
Realistically, you're already going to lose the turrets which you lost in those side lanes. Now, getting a play on the other side, getting a kill, potentially getting some chip damage back onto it, you take it as GX. Fnatic need to tighten up a little bit in regards to the vision that they have onto the Pantheon there. Of
course, we do need to keep our eyes out though, because 20 seconds until the Dragon. That'll be second Dragon for Fnatic, and I think as far as a win con goes, looking to get towards Soul would be pretty valuable. Jackie's, though, still doesn't have the ult, and has stayed a long, long time in this bot side, especially with Dragon coming on up. Razork just walking and autoing, throws down the smite, trying to force at least something here. Gets a charm, but upset coming alongside Mikyx. This box is going nowhere but an early grave.
GX overstaying that bot side, and now both Jackies of Humanoid have found their demise in that side lane. You can tell that they've learned from each other. Senna pushing that mid lane, Razork going deep into the enemy jungle now. GX not really in a position to do much about it. Herald summoned and going to take a big chunk out of the bot lane in a turret.
Looking to try and get a little bit more value here. That tier 2 swiftly going to fall though, courtesy of the Herald charge helping out. Look to get enough of this wave shoved in, and then look towards that dragon that's just spawned. Nice moment for Fnatic. Accelerate the gold lead a little bit further.
Upset walking up again, actually. Very powerful. 4-kill Kalista, remember?
He is mighty indeed. Gets the bailout, keeps hunting. That's a fair amount of damage. I see what he was looking for. Forces a Hemo plague at the very least.
Yeah, you do not tangle with that Kalista. Knows that there's still a little bit of time on the Pantheon ult. There's no way you're going to get interrupted on that play. Dragon now started up by Fnatic. You know, a lot of people would have said, well, you know, they got that kill onto Jackies. Why didn't they immediately go towards the Dragon? Because they knew that they still had the full dominance on that bot side of the map. They didn't have to rush towards there. They got some other stuff first, and now they can make a play in the mid lane.
Look for that Weaver's wall to come on down. Don't get as much value as they're hoping for. Last Embrace lands. Back away. Dragon was taken by Fnatic, and the attempted follow-up doesn't really lead to as much as I think they were hoping.
So GX, they survived that play. One of the globals thrown out. Humanoids won. Razork spots Jun walking into his jungle, sees his ult support and goes, yo, I knew you just warded that. Get out of here. Drops another ward as well. Clears one of them. Can you get both of them? I think so in the duration of that sweeper. GX now needs to be aware that the Atkan is alive. That's the next thing potentially that could be fought over. Dragon not up just yet.
A bit of an early rush, but then again, you got Kalista with 2 items. You got the Taliyah, you got the Gwen. The worst taker of Atkan there overall. Absolutely not. Can look to set up around at the very least. Razork clearing out some wards. There goes Mikyx doing the same. At least threatening the possibility of Fnatic with that vision control around the bot side of the map.
Upset. Someone we still need to very much keep our eyes on. Largest gold lead on the board, and it's not particularly close. 2 going on 3 items, going towards a Wit's End, coming in second against the double AP solo lanes. Also gives you some tenacity, which helps you against the Charm. Senna W and of course the Pantheon W as well. GX trying to get as much value out of Jackies and side lanes as they can here right now. Hovering Isma towards the side of the lane.
Going to be potentially ganked here. Potential turns into an actuality. Jackies will Spirit Rush away. Has got his Pantheon behind him. Feels safe enough to just threaten with a little more damage and then backs off.
Really like how quickly Upset and Mikyx move towards that side of the play too, realizing, look, okay, we don't know whether Isma will jump into the play, whether they feel bold enough to go towards a multi-man play with the Senna ult on top of it. So Upset and Mikyx move first. Always important to keep that in mind when you have globals like the Pantheon ult and the Senna ult thrown into the play.
Damn scary indeed. Looking to now return towards that mid lane, throwing up Evil at Isma. Noah just doesn't have the wave clear to help keep that turret up, and so Fnatic pick up the mid tier 1, no real contest. Humanoid is around here, does have the Weaver's wall. Jun will face check that, needs to be wary of a seismic shove. Eats another threaded volley, that'll be the end of that.
We'll see if Isma has to flash. He's currently not in the best terrain possible. Yeah, he's going to have to flash out of this, surely. There he goes.
A little bit greedy there with the Pantheon trying to catch someone out in rotation, ends up having to blow the extra summoner. Fnatic happy to pick that one up.
No, Fnatic doing really well at just pressuring the lane, moving slightly off of it, see if there's something to be found. That's just very good fundamentals, right? You have the Kalista that can push in places, so push it in, and then move to the side of the map with your other members and just try your luck. Now they go back towards the Atkan after forcing out the bot side of the map. They will lose that top lane turret, but with the work that Jackies had put into that earlier, it's likely to go down anyway. Jackies get some gold, Fnatic get the Atkan.
Happy enough with that. I think GX trying to get what they can off the map, because it has been a little bit rough for them over the last 10 minutes, so the mid-game has gone their way, really. Still look to scale up well enough, of course. They've still got the Vladimir, hit 2 items on the Pantheon. Ahri's there as well. The Senna scaling up pretty well. Still wants to pick up a few more souls. Only at 50 or so right now is Noah, so not exactly at the biggest break point ever on the Senna, but the scaling in general will be there. In fact,
last week on the Analyst desk, I think it was our last day, we had a graphic up which talks about the average souls at 20, I think it was. I think around about average is about 60 at 20 minutes, so it is a little bit behind that. However, in this game, you've been in a hard CV2, you've been forced to swap around the map a little bit. Typically, Senna, when you're farming, you need to hit enemy champions to get more souls quite a lot too, because you get the double tap on enemy champion every 8 seconds. You can get yourself another mist. So no, a little bit on the lower end, but you can understand where that's come from in the game. It's not like him just forgetting to click.
Yeah, he's not like left them on the ground.
Yeah,
you know?
No, I say that he's done that there. Mikyx might get jumped onto here. He's a little bit careful.
Handshakes Jun though, found an easy headbutt. Pulverize still goes forwards and will run away swiftly there. Maybe going to be jumped on regardless though. Can make his will unbreakable at some point and does so. Weaver's wall now coming on in. Fnatic want this fight. Upset, bouncing onto Isma. Hostile takeover across everyone. But in they come as Lloyd, the backline on the Vladimir. finds a few. Still low, it's dangerous. Oscarinin begins to hunt, makes it a double of his own. Continuing to snip people down to side. Into the Sanguine Poodle's lot. Noah continue to try and heal people up. They've gone so damn deep. Humanoid doing his best to throw down to credit, but Oscar will surely fall as well. It's a bloodbath. And Vladimir wins those.
Both top laners dive into the backline and try to carry the fight, and the Vladimir gets more value out of it. Upset and Mikyx go very far in, and Lot manages to find a great teleport angle. GX, they show some fight in this game. This is, after an early game where they were against this Kalista that got so out of hand. The fact they can win the fight here is a really important marker in this game. See that, Jun goes forward for the combo, tries to see if he can get himself a pick off there, doesn't get upset, and then has to find himself on a slow retreat back. It's a good way to jump forward from upset, but then they buy into the fight a little bit too much. The teleport angle from Lot is absolutely wonderful. Find himself a 1v2 in the backline against two squishies. Perfect opportunity for Vladimir. Gwen does the same on the other side, but then after that point, it's just the Vladimir versus the Gwen. And actually, Lot's been doing very well in that matchup so far, at least on the individual level. He shows his strength here in this team fight.
Oscarinin desperate to try and get one, and does actually make it a full 3 in the backline, so credit to him. This Gwen is online. Dragons just spawn though after the replay, and this will be sole point for Fnatic. I think, Nymaera, we're going again.
May well do. Lot doesn't have teleport this time, does have flash. Can you find himself a flank angle? We don't have that many wards on the bot side of the map right now. Blue buff stolen by Fnatic. Will be a team 1 because we're both, because we're past 25 minutes. Baron upgrades those. Can Lot do the same? Or will Fnatic find themselves a cleaner fight this time?
The river is dark and full of scorpions, apparently, which just sounds awful, as Jun has popped his ult, trying to face check there, and I think with that, GX say, yeah, maybe we don't go again, actually.
Easy tool pops. Fnatic will find themselves a soul point, I presume. I don't think there's going to be any more contest from that, especially with the Alistar ult being so easily blown there. Try to cheat through vision, couldn't quite manage to do so. GX lucky to not lose a cheap kill onto Jun. Third dragon to Fnatic.
Soul point secured. Fnatic was a scrappy last fight, but the end result is still an overall macro advantage. Ocean Soul when you've already got a Gwen and a pause.
Fnatic are just gaining power. So much power from pauses.
Pause. There we go. We know what that means. Still waiting to see exactly what's going on when we know more.
What do you mean we lost a fight with a 4-kill Kalista? It was a really good flank buy. It was a really good teleport hit from Lot. I'm not trying to dunk it too much.
Yeah, funny as it was a great Vladimir.
It was a great fight.
I am happy to see some creativity there from GX looking to threaten the likes of Fnatic here. Still waiting to find out exactly what's going on with the pause, but it does give us a moment to kind of take stock and see where the game is at.
I was really afraid after bot lane happened the way that it did with, the murder.
Yes.
There
was a lot of it.
There was a lot of it, and I thought that would be it. Honestly, we've seen so many Kalistas, particularly from Upset as well, get so far ahead of the game over recent days, where he's just managed to get very far ahead of the game, and things have just not been controllable after that point. See that there's a headset being toyed with on stage. Presume that's going to be the issue for the pause. And hopefully it'll get sorted out nice and quickly after that point.
Did just get a note from production. Indeed, it is an audio issue that is being investigated, so hopefully that is solved soon. We can get right back into the action.
GX, though. Good little fight for them. Now, that needs to be not the only one, right? Because we've seen how if you do give yourself an opening, like Jun missing that combo onto the clump, not quite catching the Kalista, the turnaround is vicious and very, very quick. If you give those openings to someone like Upset, who's just been awarded our MVP from the regular season, absolutely well earned too. This guy was an absolute machine in the regular season. If you give those openings to him on a champion, which he's been very well aggressively on, you cannot win those kind of fights consistently. You need to make sure you find another way to make sure he is not just hopping and skipping untouched around the fights.
It's going to be very challenging. And there's bailouts and stuff behind him. There's a lot of CC with Unravel there.
I'm not saying it's easy. You just got to do it.
Be done. Like, easy or not, you just do it.
I'm giving them the checklist. You got to stop Upset.
All right, let it go now.
Do or do not. There is no try. No, you should probably try as well, though, is the problem. You do need to do that one. Let's see if it's... What's harder, lifting an X-Wing from a swamp or stopping Upset from auto-attacking in fights? You tell me. Had some pretty good stats on this. Did lose one game for G2 in the playoffs, but even then, he got ahead in that early game. KDA's been massive. Gold advantage at 14, been massive. And once again, in this game too, did have near enough a 1.5 to 2,000 gold lead onto the bot lane of GX. This guy is really scary on Kalista and has had good results with it. Even in games where Fnatic have looked completely dead and buried, this guy on the Kalista has carried them out of those depths before. And he's ahead of the game now, and Fnatic are looking in a much better point than some of the worst games he's carried on this champion.
Picked up that Wit's End as well. Bit of tenacity, but obviously, importantly, also gives him some magic resist when he's got someone like this Vladimir gunning for his head every single fight. Does make some sense there in terms of the itemization. Lots of people laughing. I hadn't realised that. Is that Renata's laugh? She's got a very evil laugh.
Yeah, believe it is.
Don't think I'd heard it before.
Well, now you have.
Now I have.
You have. Not really sure where to go with that.
No, I'm sorry about that. It was just a moment that was like, huh, that's an interesting sound there. What could I say?
GX once again on the defense in their own jungle. We haven't seen that much of GX being able to push up because Fnatic have been, you know, using the gold leads that they've had to push in. Starting with the Baron early, but it is on Vision.
Mikyx just spotted out a little bit as well. Sweeper comes on down. Charm lands, but not really all that much avail. The Celestial opposition makes sure Mikyx is relatively tanky right now. GX looking to fight their way into their own red side jungle, and Fnatic only baited the Baron. They haven't actually fully committed, and that one ward at the back of the pit is giving GX a lot of information.
But what Fnatic can just keep doing is quite simple, right? They just kind of jump forward, they push forward into a lane, just dip off of that lane, and they clump up as 3 members. Makes it harder for the Pantheon to punish, right? Because he wants to make an uneven numbered fights. If you group first, doesn't get the chance to do that, and if you don't find any opportunities, that's fine. Go back to the next wave, push it in again, try it again the other time. I think that Upset and Mikyx having so much control has allowed Fnatic to very safely and very methodically approach the way that they want to take fights.
Eyes on Lot here as well, nearly at that death cap, has got 2 NLRs in inventory, and at some point that will be completed into a very large hat. Humanoid's already got it, of course, and that Taliyah certainly stinks, but do keep your eyes on that Vladimir when that completion comes on free.
We've talked a lot about, of course we have, it's a fun champion. On the other side though, he is behind gold.
Yeah.
Oscar had some great plays earlier on too. And, you know, we asked him to step up on the desk. I think it's quite clear for those of you that watch the G2 series, he does need to step up an individual form. He's ahead right now, and the Gwen can also do, of course, scale well. Maybe he can impact this fight if GX look for something. Isma on an angle.
There you go. A lot of work there between those two. Yeah. Versus head-to-head there, been very, very important this game. Oscar had a fantastic last fight, getting that triple kill, kind of 1v3 bluntly for the majority of it as Razork kind of fell away. GX now looking to fight their way into River, get that Scuttle Crab. Isma stepping on forwards himself there, not shield vault or anything, but GX doing a good job of fighting for some control in the River. Jackie stands charm onto Razork, doesn't really lead to all that much.
No, he's not really the champion that can do that much towards Skarner. That could be a problem in general, but I think it'll be less of an issue. Noah and Lot can gun him down for a little while. They're much better at killing tanks. Vladimir. Vladimir's disappeared for a while, but for those of you that watched in... When was Vladimir first really came back into it? For season 5 and 6. That champion was around for forever, for a good couple of years of League actually. It's been a while since we've seen him back. This champion though is one of the most scary champions once he gets to items in towards that late game. I
just remember Kleptomancy Vladimir top Nuggery back in the day.
Oh, I hated that rune, and I hated the way that he destroyed everyone. Actually, no, I didn't. I really enjoyed the way that he played that champion. Turns out he's a real fan-favorite champion player because of that. Dragon spawning in under a minute would be sold for Fnatic. That is going to be definitely something that GX wants tonight. How do they approach this?
Both top laners just picked up 3rd items. Jun already forced to ult. Look at it go in with the flash pulverize. Impale comes on down with the Dawning Shadows buying a lot of time. Hostile takeover though afterwards from Mikyx is exquisite. And Jun goes down. The last embrace lands the handshake back on it. Isma puts him in a dangerous position, tries to shield bolt in, and Upset's having none of it. The redemption not enough to keep Mikyx alive, but he gets another in the backside. Upset continues to hop, skip, and jump. It's not quite the penta because Oscar gets 1, but it's still a quadra kill for MVP bot laner.
Upset on the Kalista is a force of nature. Fnatic jump through the fight, they'll go towards the Baron. They teased it earlier, this time they'll take it for free, they'll take the soul at the same time, and in one fell swoop, Fnatic playing 2 Uber buffs going in towards the late game. We'll have a look at that fight again, because once again, Jun is caught out at the start of the fight, fishing for vision, and he has to pop his ult early. Now, it's not a bad combo coming in from him, because he does get the double pulverize, but again, it's not onto the carries, so it's not still, even then, what he wants. Hostile take over the buy time. Upset gets himself the lethal tempo, has the follow-up to go beyond it too, and Lot can't keep this Kalista locked down for long enough. He hops away from the Vladimir. It's not about Lot this time. In fact, he's CC'd up at the back end of the fight, and Upset keeps going on his merry way.
Probably sending a stern DM to Oscar about how dare you take that extra kill. That could have been mine. Still a fantastic performance. That's a Jack show, basically one shot afterwards until this Kalista is getting mighty hard to kill.
You've heard of the one shot, now get ready for the one shot. Go back to base and say, I'll have the lots. Put the Jack show
in the top lane on the other side. Don't think you can do that.
Oh man, he's, well, I'm sure that Lot would like to have the amount of items which Upset has on the other side too. He is so far ahead of Noah. And they've just not been able to deal with this Kalista. We asked them just them a good charm there.
That's a fair amount of damage. The problem is, it's not enough to get a kill or anything, and Fnatic now, with Ocean Soul and a 7k gold lead, are going to be nigh on impossible to move out of any lane in any easy way.
Yeah, this game is now very, very hard to strategize with GX. Hang on a second, they're trying to attack the side lane. Maybe that's a way they can get some stuff. It's quite far away.
It's a level 17 Gwen with Ghost Ult and an Ocean Soul. I'm not sure how easy that's going to be, and Oscar kind of just walks away.
Well, what were your options? You can't take group fights easily. Razork or upset with the bailout with the Ocean Soul. It's too hard to cut through the first target in front of you. Maybe try and find someone isolated. Try and use the Hex Flash over the wall, maybe.
BP coming on in as well. Weaver's Wall there as well. Goes for the pulverize. It's only onto Razork. The hostile takeover doesn't really land onto anyone, but it has kept people split off. Jackie did finally get caught by that one of his. Law is dead. The Vladimir is staked. Van Helsing becomes upset. Very appropriate considering the stakes he keeps throwing out. We'll look to get a hold of this mid lane tier 1.
GX try and go for a last gasp, but this might just be the base falling. 1 lane down, 2 lane down, 3rd one to fall after that point. This is going to be tutorial League of Legends. All of the inhibitors down on the same push.
And with a man down, and a very important one of that in the Vladimir, there is no creature of the night here to defend them. That final inhibitor down and tutorial completed. Next step, Nexus turrets.
GX have been on a bit of a hot streak, but Fnatic, they've got a point to prove coming into that lower bracket, and they have not taken prisoners this game.
They were looking to prove themselves still very deadly here in playoffs, and they have done just that in game 1. Another bracket blip, and they come back with a vengeance. GX defeated in short order.
Fnatic are so good at playing Kalista. Upset is a really good Kalista player. As soon as he got ahead of that game, it felt like it was just very, very hard for GX to find the right moments to take fights, to stop this Kalista from doing damage.